Hello, Bookends. This minisode will contain discussion of infant and pregnancy loss and stillbirth, themes which are covered in today's author's book. If you feel you will be affected by these themes, please turn off now and we'll see you next time. Welcome to A Pair of Bookends, the book club you can carry anywhere. We are your hosts and hopefully your new bookish pals. I'm Hannah MacDonald.
And I'm Lydia Clare. Today we are chatting about Grey Skies Turn to Sunshine, a book compiled of empowering poems and beautiful, vibrant artwork. The collection explores loss, love, pain and healing due to the loss of a mother's first son due to stillbirth.
Tiannah Malika, also known as Spike Tea, is a multidimensional creative residing in Georgia, USA. Born to West Indian parents, she grew up predominantly in Queens and Long Island in New York. Her poetry, art, photography and cinematography explores Tiannah's life experiences, Caribbean background, the city she grew up in, and the music that inspires her. For the last 10 plus years, she has worked on films, music videos, amongst various other creative collaborations. Having lost her first son during childbirth, she's devoted her platform to helping those who have suffered the same unfortunate circumstances and raising awareness on pregnancy and infant loss. Grey Skies Turn to Sunshine is her first book and is out now, and we are so excited to be joined by Tiannah today. So Tiannah, welcome to A Pair of Bookends.
Thank you. I'm so grateful to be here.
No, we're so grateful to have you. Thank you.
Absolutely our pleasure entirely. And I'm sure that all of our bookends will find some fascinating insights into this episode. So to get us started off, we'd like to talk about the personal nature of the book. It's so personal to you. Can you tell us all about the project and the book itself?
Oh, wow. I almost didn't publish it. Wow. I say that I almost chickened out. I'll be quite honest. I've been in the media and I'm so used to documenting other people's lives and creating art just of what I see, but to actually create art or put myself out there to become vulnerable it's a whole different ball game. And so I'll start off by saying that, but I was actually writing for myself. I was writing not with the intent of publishing anything. I was writing, while I was pregnant with my first child, and it was just therapeutic for me. I've always been into creative writing since I was a little girl, and it's just another source, another way of, I guess, like expressing myself, but I had no intentions of publishing it at all. And then, the unfortunate circumstance that I went through, I realized right then and there that there are so many other women and families who are going through the same thing, who have gone through the same thing, and you don't really hear much about it. I feel like as of recent, you hear more people speaking about it, but back then, and I've spoken with so many other people who are older than me who said, yeah, I went through that same thing, but I wasn't allowed to talk about it, or I didn't feel comfortable, or I felt shame or guilt, all of these emotions. And I was like, okay, this is bigger than me. This happened for a purpose, and I'm just going to walk into it and allow God to use me in that way, so I can help other people going through the same thing.
Really? Yeah, I think it will definitely help a lot of people, and it's something that's definitely not spoken about enough. Can I ask why? Because obviously you describe yourself as a multidimensional creative. Why did you feel like this was sort of the right medium to explore this experience of yours?
That's a really, really great question. To be quite honest, I was just following my intuition. Like I was already writing, and I draw and I paint on the side, and I was also creating that way. It's just I kind of walked into it. It wasn't like I didn't really think on it too long. It's just, I feel like that is what I was guided to do. And it just so happens, here we are. I've always been creating simultaneously in different mediums, whether it's film, whether it's video editing, I'm always doing something creative with whatever I'm doing. It just so happened that I don't feel like I chose it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And the picture behind you is what's on the cover of your book, isn't it?
Yes.
Did you design that?
I did. Everything that's in the book. So it's not just poetry. It's also original artworks, whether it's digital art, whether it's like a photo of an acrylic painting that I've done, sketches. And I even have like, when I was younger, I had like so many journals. So right now I'm an adult. I use like the notepad in my iPhone. So I'm always writing like little notes every single day. And so there are some notes in the book as well. Just sort of like, I don't know, like a creative journal. That's what I
love that. I love that there. Like it's really nice that you've like found your own style, and I love when people play with form and style. And I know that Lydia does as well. Now I would love it if you could give us a reading, a first reading, just to give our listeners a feel for your collection.
Absolutely. Okay, so this one is called One Heart. And I actually wrote this after I lost my first son and I became pregnant. It was like a surprise pregnancy after. And so I wrote this when I was just reflecting on all of my experiences and going through the second pregnancy. And now I have this newborn. So here we go. It's called One Heart. I wrote it in Bayonne, New Jersey. I was living in New Jersey at the time. It was April 8th, 2020. One heart. One heartbreak. I'm not sure if there is a comeback this time. 2 months go by, then surprise. Who knew another set of eyes? 2 sets of shoes, 2 of everything, but wait. There still should be 2. Now there's 2, but there should be 3. 3 of my little birds to keep mommy company.
Oh, no. Wow. And so you wrote that in 2020?
In 2020.
That's already like an incredibly turbulent year for everyone worldwide. So to have been experiencing that as well, I mean, how do you navigate that? Like how?
Gosh. Oh man, I'm trying not to tear. I'm smiling so much because I'm so grateful and thrilled to be here. And here's the thing, joy and pain can coexist. And that's something that I've been working through every day, really. It'll be as simple as seeing a newborn. To this day, I was shopping and I saw this woman with a beautiful newborn. And she was saying, oh, this is my first child. And, I'm just like, wow, that's amazing. In the back of my head, I'm like, I never had that with my first child. So even there's always going to be a thought that brings me back to my firstborn. And even with my son now, he's 3 and he is full of energy, full of personality, and I'm watching him, discover things for the first time and going back to, wow, like how would it be if he had his big brother with him here, Earthside? These are things that I wouldn't say they're dormant thoughts, but they're thoughts that I don't necessarily bring out, but they're always thoughts. And how I navigate it, acceptance. I'm in a place where I'm accepting this is what happened. And I believe that energy lives on. It's just a transition, just accepting, and just allowing yourself to feel whatever emotions it is that you're feeling. I feel like everyone goes through grief at some point in their life, but I really, in order to, in my opinion, deal with it, is to allow yourself to feel it and go through the emotions. Don't feel bad about it. This is what it is. This is how you feel. But just remember that there is joy as well. And also focus your energy on that, And also how I look at it is, doing interviews like this and publishing this book, it keeps my son's memory alive, and that's what also keeps me going, because I don't want to forget him. I don't want anyone to forget him. So easy after someone passes, so easy to move on with your life, which is great. But I personally, I don't feel like that's fair to my first son. And I do think he's with me, the spirit.
No, he absolutely is. And I love that quote, joy and pain can coexist. I think that's a really beautiful mantra to live by. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Yes, thank you. It's absolutely beautiful. It really is. And I think one of the things that I did find so interesting about the concept of the book as well was this kind of mixture of the media and you've got so much that is compiled together to create this whole. What was that like to develop and create? Like, how did you choose, like, this is the perfect drawing for this, or this is the perfect photo for this?
Oh man, that's also a really great question, man. Again, just allowing myself to be connected spiritually in a way where I felt guided to create something. And to be honest, it was a little bit of fire put under my bum to say, hey, you have this date, you know.
We all need that.
Have this date. I set goals for myself, and I did a show in London last month. Where are we at? In April. Yeah, it was last month. And, Daniel, he put the show on for me, and he was just like, all right, do you have your book? Do you have your entries ready? And I'm just like, oh my gosh. So, I mean, I've had tons of stuff, but it helped to have like a goal set and a due date. But also I remember that authenticity is something that I've been really striving to walk in. And so with that being said, it's just me tapping in spiritually and just praying before I do something. I'm always being true to what God wants me to do in that moment.
One thing that I wanted to ask, which you've just kind of touched on, is, and obviously Lydia said before that the book is very personal to you, and you've spoken about that, but it is a very painful part of your life. Did you ever feel torn about having to sit with that experience to create this work? And how did you kind of protect yourself during the writing of it?
Man, the experience wasn't easy. I felt like the hardest decision was for me to make the decision to publish it. I didn't start off with a book at first. I started off with an Instagram page that I felt like I was writing my emotions out on, but I was very cognizant of how it may make other people feel. Even to this day, I'm worried, like, I don't want to make anyone feel depressed or low or anything like that. Even now, I'm wondering, is this book too heavy? Because I want to uplift people, not bring them down. But at the same time, you need to uplift yourself, right? And so at the time when I was going through what I was going through, I created this page on Instagram, and I started seeking out other people who went through the same thing, because I wasn't ready to talk about it. I wasn't ready to put myself out there. And that is what helped me get over that hump. Besides like my connection and praying and really like going through deep reflection, it was other people on social media who was unapologetically telling their stories. And I was like, wow, if they got through it, I can get through it. And that was a wake-up call for me. Now, the problem I faced when I tried to do the same thing, there were some people that said, hey, they'll DM me and they're like, I think you should go to counseling. This isn't the right platform. And I'm just like, I get it, but geez Louise, like, from church. And I was just like, oh my goodness. And I felt embarrassed. I was actually embarrassed. And then there was also feelings of guilt. Like, what did I do wrong? Why did this happen to me? Or why did this happen to my son? Why did this happen to my family? So it was a lot of these emotions that were just, I don't know, stacking up inside of me. And I was just like, okay, yes, I do need to see a counselor, which I did. I recommend everybody that's going through any loss or grief. It could be grief over anything, a job loss, a friendship loss, breakup. See a counselor. There's nothing wrong with it. It's definitely helpful so you can sort out what your thoughts in your mind, but also be mindful of other people who are going through the same thing, and do things like reach out on social media. Just be mindful that everybody's going through something. It was the fact that the other women that I saw on social media, they took the risk. They didn't care what anybody thought, and enough was enough. I was tired of people trying to shut me up. So it's like, I'm gonna do this thing, and that's what it is. If you don't like it, it's okay. But that's another part of being authentic in your walk, and that was part of me being authentic. And to this day, I think people are kind of, not all, I have a lot of people who support me, but there are some that are like, I wouldn't be talking about that if I were you. You'll be surprised.
I think it's so frustrating as well that people, like the fact that you even felt worried that you were going to be bringing people down, when actually I'm sure it's helped a lot of people and brought them a lot of like comfort and company, I guess, in that experience of grief. I know, my friend lost her mom and her dad within the same couple of years, and she was absolutely doing the same thing, seeking out grief accounts on Instagram. She was seeking out Facebook groups where there were other people that have been through the same thing. And I think, people shouldn't have been saying things like that to you, because it is important for people during those painful times to have comfort and company in that shared experience. And I think, it's combining that with the fact that you are uplifting people, you're empowering people, other women to speak out about this experience. So I think, you know, both things can coexist. It's not, I'm just really annoyed that somebody's damper on your work.
No, me.
I was, I was kind of shocked, and it was just, it felt like I remember feeling intense pain after that. Like, oh my gosh, like, you know, it's crazy.
Absolutely.
Really, just a thought, you know, and I don't think I can ever do that to anyone. There's a simple unfollow button.
Yeah.
Unfollow. Yeah, you don't have to agree with what everybody is or what anyone is doing. Honestly, just kindly unfollow. But I do understand that if you do put yourself out there publicly, you are going to attract some people who disagree with you. So I understand that as well, you know. So it's just the balance of things, and also having the confidence and I had to build the confidence to put myself out there, and that's part of being transparent. It's being put on the platform so people can throw tomatoes at you sometimes, you know, or flowers, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Am I right in thinking that you self-published this? Is that right?
I did it. Yes, I did, through Amazon.
Right. Okay. And did you want to self-publish as like a way of keeping ownership of something that was like so precious to you, or what was the choice behind going down the self-publishing route?
Money, finances. It seemed like it seemed like the easiest thing to do at the time.
Right.
The quickest. Also, I had a deadline, and I just didn't, you know, I'm a video editor, I'm a photographer. I do write, but I've never published anything before. This is the first time I'm an author. And I didn't really, I'm hoping, you know, I will get picked up by someone eventually. I do hope that. And also I chose Amazon because I've spoken with so many other people, my friends, family members who have done the same thing. And they told me of how much success they achieved through Amazon. And so I just figured, you know, let me just try this out first, you know, but I am open for it to grow into other things and to grow with a publishing company. If, you know, that is the stars for me, I'm open to whatever God has for me.
Well, we will keep shouting about you, so people are going to listen.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So before we let you go, I just wanted to ask one quick question, really. And it was when I heard about your book and about the content of your book and stuff, it really made me realize how little there is out there that tackles this subject. I was like, I've never read anything like this before. This isn't something you see on a shelf, which, you know, and thank you for self-publishing, because we need this kind of stuff out there, and we need publishers to pay attention to the fact that we need these stories. For me, my question really is about why do you think that we're still at the point where we're not talking openly about these matters? Or, you know, do you think that there's specific things that are in our way, or is it just because it's quite taboo? I realize that's quite a loaded question, but
that is loaded, especially here in the US.
Yes.
Yes. We are going back how many years right now? We're still fighting, you know, for women's rights here. It's insane. Women, I feel like women globally are still being attacked, you know, as far as them being allowed to make the best decisions for themselves. So who are in charge? Men. Why would they care about women's health, women's issues with pregnancy and, you know, conceiving and delivering? And there's so many things, so many issues surrounding childbirth, especially in the Black community. You know, women here in the US have the highest risk of mortality. There's so many things that need to be changed. And I honestly feel like things are being uprooted. I feel like I'm hoping that in the near future, things change where we have more access to better healthcare and we have access to resources that we need and things like that. But the conversation is starting to happen now. So, you know, I just feel like it's just old, archaic rules, old, archaic like my, you know, frame of mind that this world has been built upon, and it's slowly being knocked down. And, you know, it's a process. And I really feel like this is the beginning. Discussion is the beginning of knocking down those walls. I mean, I don't know how laws are in where you guys are at, but here, you know, they're fighting it. They're fighting it, the Supreme Court. And it's just a discussion, and, you know, voting is important. We need more spokespersons, you know, people to actually not be afraid and talk about these issues and just keep making it an issue. Keep talking about it. You know, just like social media, people are so quick to swipe left or whatever. They're not interested. But if you keep on it, you garner more views, you get more people interested, you start inviting more discussions about it, more panels. I think it's starting to be put out there, be, you know, more public. You're hearing more stories about it now. You know, like the Joy and Pain Coexist book launch that I did in London last month. There are people who are in their 70s and 80s coming to me. I was like, we never discussed this, you know? So it's just a matter of people like myself who are just not afraid to have that discussion and to bring it to the tables and say, look, this is what's happening. There needs to be a change, you know? So I think it's both social media, both in the public and also in the government, you know? It's a combination of all things to stir the pot to finally get the change to come. I hope I'm making sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. No, not at all. And, you know, let it be on record that and I wouldn't wish this experience on anybody, let that be clear. But if men were going through this, there would be change. We would hear about it everywhere. It would not be taboo. And the same goes for the majority of women's experiences. You know, we're taught to keep quiet and sit down and enough of that, you know. And I think that's why representation is so important, because, you know, if there were women, there were Black women, you know, in their roles, you know, they wouldn't be pushing these things back how many years, you know. And it's so, obviously we're from the UK, but to watch everything that's happened in the US in the last few years, it's just devastating.
We will.
I was beside myself.
Yeah.
But thank you, because it's people like you, it's the courage that you guys take and the steps that you guys take. I mean, you paved the way for the hundreds of thousands of women behind you that needed a place to go.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, because, you know, we need books like this. We really do.
Yes, and we need platforms like yours so that have those discussions. So I appreciate you, and I'm so grateful to be a guest on your show. And
no, thank you. We would love to have another reading from you before we let you go. Would that be okay?
Absolutely. That'll be fine. I'm going to read this one. I think this is perfect. It's called Don't Stay Quiet. I wrote this in Queens, New York, and this was the same year that I lost my first son, but I was also pregnant with my second son. So this was in September 2019. Here we go. I was so quiet before, but now I realized how selfish it was to stay that way. Took the time to begin healing, but my heart's desire to empower kept ringing in my brain. How many out there cry themselves to sleep, painting a smile over what lies beneath? How many have tried to stay positive through the rain, but continue to blame themselves while silently going insane? How many tried hard to put the pieces back together? How many find it hard to come back to center? Sis, I'm with you every step of the way. Take my shoulder, I'll take your tears. Our struggles won't go in vain. These little perfect humans, their souls are still with us, encouraging every step that we take. Let's lift each other up, express empathy, send encouraging words to fuel us each day. Come lay down or sit with me while I say, sis, I love you. I can feel your pain as you do mine, but remember God's promise, there's always a rainbow after the rain. Keep looking to the divine. Turn your face towards the sunshine. That's really
beautiful.
I think that's the first time I've cried on the podcast. You just got a tear on me. I was messaging my agent last night saying, there was a script I had through for a self-tape, and I said, I really struggle when it tells me to cry, and here I am crying freely on camera. I said, no. He's going to be like, you lied to me. That was really, really beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm just in awe. I'm really in awe, and I'm so pleased that we got you on the podcast. So thank you so much for joining us, Tiannah. It's been wonderful talking to you and hearing your words. Is there anything that you want to share with us or our listeners before we let you go?
Yes. Follow me on Instagram. Love Tiannah. That's at the @ LOVETIANNAH. And you can also go to the website to see what the book is all about. That's Gray Skies Turn to Sonshine.com. And you can also find the book on Amazon, Gray Skies Turn to Sonshine, and that's Sonshine, SONSHINE.
And I will include a link in the show notes to your book as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you all. And I also have some projects that are coming up later. I don't want to give too much away, but there are some additions that I plan on doing to this book. So
amazing. Well, if you ever want to come back and see us, we would quite gladly have you. But thank you so much for joining us today, Tiannah. It's been so lovely speaking to you. And like I said, hearing your work. And listeners, please do go give Tiannah a follow and please buy her wonderful book. Thank you so much. It's Gray Skies Turn to Sunshine. Go buy it. Thank you so much and goodbye.
Bye. I appreciate you.